If efficiency were the goal, we could just email diplomas. No rehearsal, no stage, no names read out loud, no family sitting in folding chairs holding their breath for that one moment. Just a message, attachment included, congratulations. And yet, every single year, schools all across the country choose to do something very different. They gather, they slow down, they create a moment. Because deep down, we understand something important. People rarely remember procedures, they remember moments.
This is Your Morning Boost, recorded in the Forward Ed Network studios. A weekly spark for educators and school leaders ready to lead, teach, and live with greater intention. This is Your Morning Boost.
Welcome to your morning boost. I'm glad you're here with me today. This time of year, schools are filled with traditions. It's graduations, award ceremonies, retirements, those final assemblies. And interestingly, while most leadership conversations focus on innovation and change, educators right now are actively participating in some of the oldest practices that schools have. So today we're talking about something that doesn't always get enough leadership attention, and that is school traditions and culture. More specifically, why effective school leaders understand that traditions are not barriers to progress. They are often the foundation that makes progress possible. I was at a graduation recently. Honestly, it was my daughter's. It was my last one. It's our last child, which means my wife and we're officially standing on the doorstep of becoming empty nesters. And while I was sitting there, I had two perspectives at the same time. One of those was as a parent, but one was also as a former school leader. Because not all that long ago, I was the one reading the names. I was the one organizing rehearsals and talking to seniors about why this event matters. And here's something that's worth remembering. Graduation is not just a school event, it's a Board of Education event. It represents the institution itself, which means it carries more weight. It carries history. It carries meaning that goes beyond any one student or any one class. And that's what traditions do at their best. They remind us that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. Now, not all traditions last. Some fade away, some, frankly, they lose relevance. But the ones that survive, they serve a purpose. That's the filter. The question isn't whether a tradition is old. The question is whether it still matters. Graduation has survived because it does something incredibly important. It creates a shared moment of recognition, not just for students, for families, for communities. If there are 50 students graduating, there may be 50 families in the audience, or fewer. If there are 5,000 students graduating, there may be thousands of people there, each connected to that moment in different ways. And it's also important to acknowledge not every student has someone in the stands, which makes the role of the school community even more important. Because for some students, this moment is witnessed and held by the people in that space, the staff, the peers, the institution itself. Every single name called represents a moment, a walk, a milestone, a memory, and that matters.
If you're an educator trying to stay sharp without adding more to your plate, SkillSpring is built for you. Short, practical professional learning designed around real classroom needs. Lesson strategies, instructional tools, and ideas you can actually use tomorrow. No overwhelm, no wasted time. Just learning that fits your day. SkillSpring. Learn forward.
This segment is sponsored by Grunmeyer Leader Services. Since 2013, GLS has been a trusted partner for school districts across the Midwest, specializing in executive recruitment and leadership support. They believe that great schools start with great leaders, and they are here to help you find a perfect fit for your district. Transform your school's future with the right leader. Visit GrunmeyerLeaderSearch.com to learn more. Grunmeyer Leader Services, transforming education one leader at a time.
Now, this is where leadership becomes really, really important because not everything we call a tradition actually is one. Some things they're just habits. And here's the difference. Traditions, they are intentional. Habits are automatic. Traditions, they are tied to purpose. Habits are tied to routine. Traditions create meaning. Habits just repeat behavior. And if we're not careful, schools can start protecting habits in the same way that they protect traditions. That's when things get stuck. That's when people start pushing back because they can feel the difference even if they can't always explain it. At their best, traditions function as rituals, and rituals do something incredibly powerful in organizations. They create belonging. They signal that this matters. You are part of this, or this moment is worth pausing for. And in schools where everything moves fast, those pauses matter because they give people something to hold on to. They create shared experiences that last longer than any lesson plan or meeting agenda ever will. Now, let's bring this back to leadership because leaders play a critical role in how traditions evolve. There are times when leaders should protect traditions, especially when they create meaningful shared experiences, honor people and milestones, or strengthen a sense of community identity. And they provide stability in environments that otherwise feel like they are constantly shifting. And honestly, this time of year, that stability matters a lot because everything else is shifting. Schedules change, energy changes, emotions run high this time of year, and traditions help anchor that experience. But there's another side to this. Not every tradition should be protected. Some should be retired, especially when they no longer serve a clear purpose or when they unintentionally exclude or diminish parts of the community. Or maybe even when they create confusion instead of clarity, or when they drift too far from their original intent. And this is where leadership judgment matters most. Because protecting everything is not leadership, evaluating everything is. So let me give you a real example here. At the graduation that I just attended, there were moments that some people might call shenanigans. Backflips across the stage, there was even a fake fall. I mean, there's extra adornments that weren't part of the school's expectations. And look, I promise you, I am not a get off my lawn person. I understand celebration and I thoroughly understand personality. But I also found myself thinking about something else. Because when a moment becomes more about the individual performance than the shared experience of all, something starts to shift. And that's the tension that leaders have to manage. How do you allow celebration without losing the meaning of the moment? And I've seen this from the other side too. There was a time when I was serving as an associate principal, activities and athletics director, head football coach. You know, that role that all of us dread, the duties as assigned role. And here I was standing at the podium during the ceremony, reading names as students came across the stage. And as I read the first, middle, and last names of my football players, one by one, they walked behind me and gave me a quick, good job, pat on the butt as they passed. Now, the first few, I'm not going to lie, they caught me off guard. And then I realized this was planned. I mean, it was subtle. Most people in the gym, they didn't notice. And honestly, it was their way of showing respect. They found a way to be themselves in that moment, but they did it without making a mockery of it. And I've always remembered that because that's the balance we're talking about here. Students will bring personality, and frankly, they should. But leadership has to ensure the moment itself still holds its meaning. Because again, there are families in that audience who have been waiting their entire lives for that name to be called. And that moment matters. And leadership, we have a responsibility to protect that.
Are you ready to transform your school or classroom? Join hosts Adam and Jim on Control Shift Lead, the monthly podcast on the Forward Ed Network. Every episode, they bring in top educators from across the United States to deliver 3 game-changing insights: something you can control in your work, something that will shift your thinking, and something you can use to lead tomorrow. Don't just manage, lead. Subscribe to Control Shift Lead today.
There's a moment every educator knows, when the to-do list gets longer than the school day. That's where ClassBridge AI comes in. Turn ideas into lesson materials, activities, and classroom resources in minutes, so you can spend less time building and more time teaching. ClassBridge AI. Work smarter in the classroom.
You're doing incredible work in your classroom and community. Isn't it time the world heard about it? Welcome to The Commons, a dedicated podcast channel on the Forward Ed Network, built specifically for educational professionals like you. We provide the platform at no cost. You bring the ideas and the passion. We provide the reach to share them with the field. Ready to start your broadcast? Ready to share your knowledge with others? Email us at admin@forwardednetwork.com and join the conversation today.
As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with one final thought. In leadership, it is very easy to evaluate everything through the lens of efficiency, time, logistics, execution. But traditions were never designed to be efficient. They were designed to be meaningful. And when leaders evaluate traditions only through efficiency, they often miss their real value. So maybe the better question is not, is this the fastest way to do this? Maybe the better question is, does this still serve a purpose worth protecting? Because when traditions are aligned to purpose, they don't hold schools back. They help move schools forward with clarity, identity, and connection. And honestly, that's what strong school culture is built upon. Thanks for being part of the work, and thank you for spending your time with us. We really appreciate everything you do for your students and for your community. We will talk with you again next week on Your Morning Boost.
That's your morning boost from AWB Education and Media. If this episode helped you reset your thinking or take your next step forward, share it with a colleague. And don't forget to subscribe so your next boost is ready when you need it. Keep showing up with intention. Keep moving forward, and we'll see you next time.